Recently, myself and Daryl Wilkerson Jr. of Real World Photography taught a workshop at Dodd Camera in Chicago. Now, this was a Westcott-sponsored event, and what we did is we walked through our process from start to finish, shooting, lighting, editing, exporting, and everything in between. And what I did is I actually screen captured my portion of my editing as far as frequency separation and skin cleanup goes. What I want to do is I want to release that on my YouTube video for you guys to watch. Now, remember, this is, it was a Westcott-sponsored video or a Westcott-sponsored workshop, so make sure you check out Westcott. Also check out Dodd Camera. Thanks to Allie and everybody at Dodd who had us out there, and my brother Daryl for being there and working with me and partnering up on these workshops and upcoming workshops too. So I'm going to get into the video. It starts out a little bit into it because I hit record as we were going. So this is the video. I hope it helps you as far as frequency separation and watching kind of how I teach at workshops. Yeah, so the clarity, it's kind of like the clarity. They added that texture slider, I think, about a year ago, and I like doing that more than doing this one because it almost looks too much, where this texture, like you could even take it all the way down and it's not even, it's just softening it a little bit. It's the same kind of idea. Right. Okay, so what I'm going to do while I have this mask layer open, I'm going to select a new layer, or create a new layer. I'm going to select the subject again, and this is a little trick that I like to do here. I'm going to, so it's selected her, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert it, and now it's only going to make changes to the background. It did do a little bit here, so if you ever see that, where's my, there we go. So subtract, brush, and then I can just go in here and subtract all of this. So see how I can just, instead of trying to use my trackpad or using a magic mouse or anything, I can just use my pen and draw on this. Now, if I was doing this for a client or something, I would take a lot longer to color this or to take this out, but for the sense of teaching, I'm just going to kind of blow through it. And then also I noticed that this little arm right here is not masked, the background of the arm, where the arm is. So I'm just going to add another one. Going to go in a little bit. Whoops. And I'm going to add this in. Like I said, typically I would take a lot longer to do this. And then hold in the option to subtract some of this. Whoops. Can't find a happy spot there. Going too fast. All right. That'll work. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to darken that background because I feel like it's too bright. If you look at this, what I want to do is I want to take that background down. So I'm going to come over here and bring the exposure down. And then I'm also going to bring the highlights down. I might have taken that a little too far. So now you can see all I'm doing is I'm bringing the focus to her just a little bit more and bringing that background, kind of getting that background out of there. Now, at this point, you could also, I typically don't do it very often, but this is where you could bring like the slider down and it'll like even blur the background more, but I shoot f1.4, so I don't really worry about that. Yeah, it's kind of adding a fake bokeh to it pretty much. All right, so that is right about where that would be. I also did on that edit, on that first edit that I showed you guys, I brought the vibrance up a little bit. I hardly ever touch the saturation as well, even though I have really saturated photos. I always do vibrance and not saturation. It just feels a little bit more natural to me that way.
Is this the vibrance for just the background or for...
This is everything. I'm out of the masks now. This is global, so this is everything. Okay, so that's about what I would do in Lightroom. So this is the first step that I would do in Lightroom.
Do you do anything like with Daryl was doing earlier, where you can adjust the coloring within the tones?
Yeah, I do that at the end.
You can do that in Lightroom?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I use Lightroom as like a home base. So I start in Lightroom, I move over to Luminar, I save it in Luminar, it automatically updates the Lightroom, and then I move it over into Photoshop and I do some stuff, and when I hit save on there, it automatically updates the photo in Lightroom. So then I come back to Lightroom and then I finish out and export from Lightroom. So, but yeah, that would all be done down in here. All right, so now I'm going to show you. I also earlier I kind of got rid of some of this fuzz and stuff on our shirts. I'm not going to do that right now. Actually, I probably should show you guys real quick. So the newest Lightroom update allowed you to do this erase tool. So it used to just be heal and then clone stamp. Now they implemented this erase, which is awesome. You can just kind of color in where you want it to pick, and it'll pretty much use the patch tool. And maybe, there you go. So now it's gone. So it works incredibly. Like, I really like that feature.
Is that something you would do, like for clothes? I feel like that's easy because it's a black shirt.
Mhm.
But if you were doing like acne removal or something like that,
So that's done I do that in Photoshop. Yep, and I'll show you how I do that. So next step is Luminar Neo. This is, and like I said, this is a step you can skip if you want. It's just something that I do. Luminar is like, what, $200 lifetime or something like that? Yeah, it's not much. And they're always at all the conferences, so if you ever go to a conference around here, usually they do like a 50% off or something like that. Yeah. All right. So what I do from this has a whole lot of AI features built into it. You can do all sorts of stuff with this app or this program. I don't. I just use it for skin cleanup. Her skin is already impeccable. But you go down to face. So this is where you can start AI adjusting the face. Anybody use Luminar? Yeah? Okay. So one of the newest updates to Luminar Neo is really fixed a lot of the issues that the earlier ones had as far as masking. But I mean, so what I do is I use Face Light. And you can already see the difference in what I've done before, after. And then I also enlarge the eyes by like 5, anywhere between 5 and 10. So it's just, so like you could like go all the way and make it like a Tim Burton movie. But I usually just use it kind of 5 to 10, somewhere in there. Just a little bit to kind of make the eyes pop just a little, but not make it look awkward.
can you go all the way up again? I see what it looks like all the way. I feel like I can't.
So that's the regular photo. I like just a little bit of subtlety to it. This is also where you can do like an eye enhance as well, which is so with African American and with usually Latino, the dark brown eyes, it's hard to use this feature. But if you have someone that has like bright blue eyes, bright green eyes, something like that, you can really take this and like add detail to the pupils. Because like if I wanted to, I could actually change the color of the eyes and everything with this. See, it's not going to do it because their eyes are too dark. Yeah. So you could actually take this and like, let's say someone has blue eyes but they want brown eyes in their photos. You literally just click this and it'll change the color of their eyes. You can add like cat eyes or owl eyes or anything. Yeah. All right, so that's all I'd really do to this. In there, I would take the mouth and go a little bit on the teeth whitening, not too much. I don't like to make it look awkward. So there's your before and there's your after so far. And like I said, all I'm doing is kind of lightening up the face, bringing in some detail. The last one that I use is skin. And then I also, once again, usually only bring that up to like 25 or 30 because I'm going to be doing more skin cleanup in Photoshop. So the way that I edit everything is I do little baby steps throughout the whole process until the end is done. So let me see how that did. And we'll do a little bit of shine removal in there. Right, you could take this and this could be a done photo. Like, I mean, it's it's clean enough that. So I'm just going to apply, and that's going to jump back. It'll automatically update that in Lightroom then. The next step is Photoshop, and that's where it kind of, did you see it update and how much it changed it? So I'm not going to touch it in here. I literally just brought it back here. That way I can go and edit over into Photoshop and with Lightroom adjustments.
What do you think is the easiest way to, like, go from Lightroom to Photoshop to, like, these other apps? What are they?
I use this right click and then edit in, and then whatever app you want.
Do with it? Does that, like, save it?
It saves it as a TIFF file, so then it's still editable.
Yeah.
And then, like, basically, I'm pretty sure Windows works the same way, but I know Mac does, that, like, so, like, if I hit save in Photoshop, it'll change it in Lightroom because it's the same TIFF file that it's reading from everywhere.
See, because I
So,
always did the line.
like, export, import, and
Import is, so if you were doing like 10 photos, you wanted to edit them all, do like retouching, would you like select them all and then edit in, and it would open up 10 files and then?
no, I'd probably do them one at a time. But I would do edit in. Like, I wouldn't export anything. I would just do them one at a time. I think, honestly, that'd be quicker than trying to export, import, you know, and do
The
it.
reason for that was just to save on like exporting time and storage, right? That's,
Right, storage mainly. Yeah, because you're working on that same TIFF file no matter what, where it is. So yeah. Okay, so this is the part where it's probably going to get a little confusing for some people that don't know what frequency separation is. And I'm going to try to do it as slow as possible and as smooth as possible. Now, I'll let you guys know that Eli Infante has a action pack that I use 99% of the time to do this process. Basically, you bring up your actions, you hit play, and it automatically does the steps for you, and then you just have to edit. I'm going to show you guys how to create frequency separation layers. And I don't know if some of you were in here when I first talked, but I'm screen recording this whole thing, and I'll email you the video link to what I'm doing. That way you can like slow down and watch it over and over again, because this does get confusing, and it took me a long time to figure out like how to smoothly do this. So, but I did want to screen cap it, that way I can send it to you. So the main thing that I can say about Photoshop is label everything. I am terrible with doing it, but I've tried to teach myself over the years to label every layer. So this is going to be, all I did was create a new layer, a duplicate layer, I should say, and I'm just going to name this original. That way, no matter what, if I screw up, I still have the original that I can go back to. I can delete all the layers and then I can go back to it. So now does everybody know what frequency separation is, or is it kind of hieroglyphics to some of you? Okay.
familiar with it, but like not, I don't understand it.
Okay, me neither. So the scientific side of it, I have no idea how or why. So basically what it is you're going to create two layers. One layer is going to be your details. The other layer is going to be your color. So that way when you edit one, you don't mess up the other. And that's how you get that super buttery soft skin, and that's how you get that look. So basically you're creating a layer to edit your details, and then you're creating a layer for your color. That way you can mess with each one at a time. Now, with that being said, if you mess up one and you can't, Control Z or Command Z back, you have to start over. So there's no way to just delete that layer and start a new color layer, because they read off each other. So what you do is from here, you're going to create two layers. I guess I could probably go full screen with this too. I'm used to not having it full screen. Okay, so what I did is I created two more layers, duplicates, and I'm going to name this one color, and I'm going to name this one detail. The detail one I'm going to turn off right now. Color, I'm going to select it. I'm going to go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the detail to just kind of start disappearing. So you don't want it like way up here. You want it just to start losing that detail a little bit. So like, that's even too much. Let's go right about there. Because now we have a color palette. This is just color. It's not the detail. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my detail layer in here. The way you do that is you go Image, Apply Image, you need to go to layer, and you need to select your color layer. Now watch the background right here. When I do this, you'll see the details start coming in. This is the science part that I don't understand. So when I click color, you'll be able to start seeing the detail come in. Right? You probably can't see it on the screen. Subtract. Color. Original. Yeah. Color. And then you need to go over here and you need to change this to linear light. Okay. So now what you have is you have a detail layer and you have a color layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this detail layer. And I'm going to start getting rid of any blemishes. And literally when I was cleaning this earlier, she had 2. So I'm going to grab my patch tool. The patch tool is a lifesaver. If you don't use the patch tool, start using it. It is, so you usually have the Band-Aid here, the spot heal. Hold in and go to the patch. And what it's going to do is it's going to do essentially the same thing as like a clone stamp, but it color matches as well, or it detail matches. So I'm just going to bring it over here where there's not a little mark. And you can see basically it just kind of fills in. And then there's one right here. So as you can see, I'm not affecting any of the detail in the photo, or the color in the photo. I'm just affecting the details. So like if I wanted to, there's a random stray hair right here that I could get rid of. So now that hair's gone. But I didn't affect the color. So the color is still back there. So this is how you get rid of like acne, blemishes, stuff like that without affecting the color and making it look all awkward. So like all of these little skin spots you could get rid of. I'm just pretending it's acne. That way you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Deselect this one. This one. There's a little freckle here. It's hard to tell if it's a freckle or it's dirt on my computer.
Like you couldn't do like just like heel and leg.
I mean, you could. You have a little bit more control when it comes to doing it this way. And the next step is really where you get the smoothness on the face, and that's.
When you're talking about like not affecting the color, only affecting the details, like if you were to do something like an under eye, because like I've done that before where I'm trying to like less intensify this, but it almost becomes too bright and then it's not like matching the cheek.
Yeah.
So is that kind of what you're talking about, where it's like?
That's what I'm going to show you right now. That exact thing. So see how this is like really bright right here, and it's kind of darker here. What you're going to want to do is now you're going to want to start working on your color. And I use the mixer brush. And basically, so what this is going to do is, because I'm only affecting that color palette on the back in the background, where I start moving this, it's going to start blending these together.
Blending the 2 layers together?
The color. So see how this is it's bringing this brightness, and I'm like mixing it. So basically, think about having paint and smearing your finger across it. That's what you're doing. You're taking your dark and your light and mixing them together. Now I have my brush turned way down, like, so if I was up here at like full power on the flow and I try to do it, you can see like it does like weird stuff. So that's where you want to keep your flow like way down.
But even that kind of still looks, I mean, it's intense, but it's not like.
Right. Your main focus is to get your shadows and your highlights to look smoother together. So like this is where I would just kind of move it just a little bit.
So there's not so much of a contrast.
Right. And then, so I would take it from there, and I would bring my highlight over. So now you can see, let me add these into a folder so you can see what I'm doing here. So see how much softer it is around the cheek line, stuff like that.
When do you, when do you keep your low at?
The flow on the what do you mean? The like, what do you mean the low?
What percentage do you keep it at?
37. Oh yeah, right around 30-ish. Now that action that I was talking about with Eli Infante, that action pack basically just creates all these layers for you, and then you can just go right into the blemish and color cleanup. So I'm just going to kind of soften this a little bit. And see, because I'm doing this on the back end here, it's not messing up any of the detail. Like if I did this, her detail in her eye is still there. Now the color is all jacked up, but her detail is still there.
Yeah. So hard to like make your brain understand, kind of.
Right.
So then this is something that you would do like for the under eye, for acne, that kind of.
Yeah, I would do the detail, and then I would go back and change the color. Now, another thing that you can do, it's kind of sometimes hard to do, but you could create, like let's say you don't like this darkness right here. You can go in and, whoops, should probably select a color. Is that it? Is that gonna do it? Yeah. No, never mind, just kidding. I don't want to show you that. I don't remember how to do it. I haven't done it in a long time. But you can actually color match that way by using your paintbrush and stuff like that. So you're just doing like real little like adjustments in the dark and the light spots and just kind of brushing back and forth a little bit with the mixer tool. And it's really creating that softness look. So see how much less glare there is, like by her cheekbone, by her chin. Forehead's a lot smoother.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
Not really, because you don't have that close touch-up time, like where I'm doing the
I really like how it's like doing the sketch of painting and Photoshop is actually
painting it. I do. That's such a great analogy. So yeah, you can see now the softness in like right here, this cheek line, the chin line, the hair right, especially right here.
See, it's also hard because like that doesn't look bad without the edit,
No, not at all. Like she has perfect makeup. The lighting was great, and that's the thing is like, it's good right out of camera. You could do a quick color grade and be done. But if you want to take it that step further and like really, this is more like what you'd call glam makeup or Hollywood makeup, Hollywood editing.
Like if you were gonna do like a campaign for Ulta.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You'd want their skin flawless. So it's Hollywood style editing. So because you're taking out. Now I could go on and do like dodging and burning and stuff like that. Usually with females, I don't dodge and burn. I think it looks a little weird. It creates too much like dark and light spots.
They kind of already have their makeup done.
Right. Yeah. So now that I've done that, this is pretty much good to go in Photoshop. I'll hit Control or Command S. Now it'll save it, and once it's done saving it, I'll be able to go back into Lightroom, and it'll be ready to go for my final color grade. It'll look just like that. Whoops. Yeah. So you'll see it. When it hits 99%, it'll just update this photo.
So
Or when it hits 100.
I actually use my iPad and the Apple Pencil, but I mirror the screen.
Awesome. Yep.
So it's like the same thing.
Yep.
Or like, what is the difference?
Nothing? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to buy another thing.
Because they make the one
With the screen, yeah.
screen in it,
Yeah, a friend of mine is selling one right now. I'm contemplating buying it, and I also have an iPad Pro 13 or 12.9 or whatever it is too. So now I shoot with a Sony a7R IV, and I'm an idiot that shoots at full resolution, so this is 61 megapixels. So it takes a second to update on my end. So each photo is about 250 megabytes. So yeah, and that's unedited, like straight out of camera. After they edit, my final image if you look at like the TIFF file, it's like 2.8 gig. So yeah. And I shoot weddings like that every week. And I have bought 4 external hard drives this year alone. 12 terabytes.
Well, tell them how much stock you own in Lacey hard drives. So.
No, I buy Western Digital from Best Buy because I can't afford anything else as much as I buy them. I bought 4 12 terabytes this year already.
I bet.
Yeah, 4 of them. I have 3 12 terabytes full already, and I just bought a new one 2 weeks ago. So I have a NAS set up for my video because my video editor lives in Colorado. So all the NAS stuff is video, but no, I keep everything, and then I just cloud backup. So I have an unlimited storage Google Drive because I bought it. I bought Google Enterprises like right when it launched, and now I'm grandfathered in because now like you only get like a terabyte or something like that with Google Business. I have unlimited still. So, and I pay like $30 a month for it. So, come on, update. Or,
Who's got questions?
oh, that's why.
I guess I'm just, yeah.
I need to learn this thing Dodge and burn. You help me, man?
Yeah, I can do it. I can go back and do it. So this is updated. Let me just finish this one, and then I'll go back and I'll show you what I dodge and burn on this photo. So now this is back in here. This would be my final step, would be color grading, like he said. Now the way that I do it is I go down to this color grading tab. This is back in Lightroom Classic, yes. And I'm gonna go with my midtones right here, and I always go, so these little circles, a little goes a long way on them. I literally only move it to like right about there. Because if you go out here, it's really gonna change the photo. Like, it doesn't look bad, it's just weird. So, and this is where my cinematic side comes in from doing video. I love the teal and orange look that's industry standard for video. So that's where I always lean towards, is my midtones are always more orange and my shadows and my highlights are more teal. So you can see, I mean, I could take it way down here and it's just affecting the midtones, but I'm just gonna ever so slightly add some color in there. And then same thing, I could take this wherever I wanted.
I never played around with this before.
Yeah, I feel like you could do so many. You could have 15 edits of the same photo.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's like you
I mean, I could take this right here and just make it all Daryl, like just like that, and do it black and white, and then just edit it again. You know, so
because I'll just keep going.
that is an issue, is you got to learn when too far is too far, and I do it all the time too. I'm like, well, that's junk.
That's
You know, it's
I mean, I kind of just do
damn, dude.
little reference, little bit of,
So I got to see how close I was to the original.
And just remember, guys, color grading is what. So
Pretty close.
Color grading is what gives each artist their signature style.
Correct.
It is not all the other sliders and bells and whistles in here. So like when you look at an Annie Leibovitz piece of work, if you look at a Terry Richardson piece of work, and these are just fashion photographers I'm naming off here, but any of your favorite photographers, even if it's film, the color grading and what film stock they chose, or if they shoot digital, how they edit, color grading is what really sets the artist apart from one another. So if you invoke, greens and magentas, like there's always going to be some sort of feeling that you get when you look at somebody's image, and that's the real connection piece, and it always comes through in their color grading, more so than any other form of the editing that they do.
So I guess, because you said you keep black and white, so I guess that's kind of like your thing. It's consistency also too, right?
Yeah, so the biggest thing when it comes to, and I'll show you, this is more evocative. I was just working on that while we were just sitting here talking. But this is more evocative of what I do, and I'm heavy into the contrast, the whites and the lights and the blacks. And so that's kind of where I like to live. When you get into black and white, because I'm not working heavily with color, contrast is king. And so sometimes a photo like this, like if this was fashion, contrast is king. I'm going contrast all the way. But if I'm doing something that's more editorial, then contrast has to come way, way down. And so, because I shoot a lot of different things, my editing style has to evolve in between each style. So like if you see my wedding black and whites, they are the same, it's the same beginning base, like it's just maybe one or two things and it's done. Because I keep that very, very consistent. But when I'm shooting things like this, so like if I was doing more high fashion, if I was doing something editorial, it's gonna be a very different dramatic tweak in that. But the same things will still be similar. You'll know it's me because there are certain elements in my editing style that are signature to what I do. And so Josh has seen all my work, so he knows. He'll go like, yep, that's Daryl, yep, that's Daryl. And when I see Josh's work, I know, oh, okay, Josh, like you could say, hey Daryl, let me show you this photo and not tell me who it is, and I would know exactly what Josh's work is.
Yeah. So dodge and burn, I'm going to show you how to dodge and burn real quick. And dodge and burn is another one of those things that a little bit goes a long way. So what I did is I just created another layer. And basically what you're going to do is dodging. So dodging is bringing up your highlights. And burning is bringing down the low spots. Now, typically, like I said, I won't do it on a female or someone presenting as a female because I like the softness, and I think once you start doing the dodge and burn, it adds some grit to something. But I'm going to show you how I would do it on this photo. And basically, I created a new layer. This is just, or I duplicated or flattened all this layer. So this is, no, I'm not going to affect anything down here in case I mess up. And I'm going to go and I'm going to select the dodge tool. So like I said, dodging is bringing up your highlights. And I have it set at 35 for exposure up here. I have a super soft brush, 150. And I also use, I don't know if you notice a lot, so the reason I use my pen in my left, I am left-handed, but the reason I use my pen is because my right hand stays on hotkeys. So my bracket down is going to be a smaller brush, my bracket up is a bigger brush. I could do it also with this button right here, but I like to keep my hand on the keyboard at all times and use like my hotkeys that I have set up. Like space bar, and then all I have to do is just move my pen to move the person around. Bracket up, bracket down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that dodge and I'm just going to start bringing in some of these highlights again. But because I'm doing it this way, I have much more control than just that hot spot that was there earlier.
You're so delicate.
I'm trying. This is like, and this is why I think most of my YouTube videos suck, is because it's just silence and it's me like, just like I don't talk, like I'm just in this zone where I'm like, totally, yeah. So like I got just tongue hanging out, just like sitting here editing, but like, so like, and dodging and burning is also where I'd come down in here and like kind of do some of this stuff too, and bring some of the highlights up in this. Now, once I did that, you could typically you'll create a second layer for it, but I'm just going to do both on the same layer. So now I'm just going to come in here and do the same thing for some of these low lights. And I'm just kind of coloring in some of these spots. I'm only at 30% brightness or pressure. Oh, let me turn it down. Here we go. And I'm just kind of coloring in some of these areas here. And with the stylus pen, it's also pressure sensitive. So the lighter I press, the less it's going to do. So like doing this as opposed to doing this is two completely different things. So it doesn't look like I did much to this, but I assure you that I did. Let me just show you. So that's how much I changed the photo. Yeah. So that's no dodge and burn. And then dodging and burning, I brought in like the highlights here and the low lights and stuff like that. Now, typically what I do when I dodge and burn is now I'll take that opacity and bring it down. Yeah, right, because it's super harsh, especially, and I feel like that's where that whole female thing is like her skin was soft. Now, if you did that on like a bodybuilder that's like in a gym and like you know, it's just crazy harsh lighting and like half lit and stuff, that's where you dodge and burn, male or female. But like if it all depends on the style of photo, it all depends on the makeup and the look, because that softness, I would not add a dodge and burn to it, and if I did, it would be at like very low opacity like this, because I mean now you can notice that it's there but not ridiculous.
I feel like it's more suitable because it's further away. But if this is like a full close-up, having all of the dodging and burning would probably be a lot. Like in final print or final release.
Right. I mean, at 35, it doesn't look too bad. You can see they're just kind of lightening it a little bit. But at 100, it's too much. It's harsh. You could. I often don't do too much touch up on clothing. I focus so much on the face because that's where I want to draw the attention. So if anything, I would probably darken the pants just a little bit. They're pretty bright, because I want that focus on the first thing you see on this photo is to be the face. So that's why I focus so much on editing the face, and that's the same and that's why a lot of my portraits are cropped to Like this would be a crop that would end up on my website. So now you don't notice those pants quite a bit because it's not so much of them.
My instinct is just to pull the highlights down a little bit. On the,
Right, you could
then that would affect the whole picture, right?
create a mask in Lightroom. Yep. So this is where I was talking about this new thing. It's like you can hit mask and then people and it'll pop up. Click that, and now you can just mask certain spots. Like if you just want to touch their eyebrows, their eyes, their pupils, their lips, their teeth, their hair. So that is just going to create a mask on that stuff. But let's
Do you ever, like, when I'm doing like an event or something like that, sometimes I'll go through one by one and I'll just hit the auto.
oh yeah.
And you know, and it really, and then I'll tweak it from there.
So when I'm editing weddings, auto all day. Absolutely auto all day. Like I'm not trying to sit and spend an hour editing a photo of the couple and their grandma and doing all this to it. It's straighten, crop, color correct, export. Like that's, I mean, like I'm not trying, and my couples understand that. I'm not, they know that I'm not sitting down and spending an hour on every single photo. It's the bangers. Those are the ones they want me to edit. They're the ones that are going to end up on a canvas on their wall.
Yeah. So you'll do the auto for the just kind of general things, and then the auto for the color too.
So my process for like a what? Let's say for example like a family photo after a ceremony. So bridegroom or bride groom whoever and parents. Crop, straighten, auto, bring the vibrance up. Done. That's what I do to every one of them. Maybe bring the texture down just a little bit. Now, if I have a subject, a groom or bride or whoever that has a ton of acne and they want me to clean the majority of the acne, then I take some more time. But at the same time, I don't do that to every photo as well. Like that's going to cost more. Like that's an additional charge if I have to completely clean up acne on 500 photos. That's a lot of time. So crop to my my composition, straighten, hit that auto button, and that's going to make your colors. And then you might have to turn the highlights down a little bit or turn. So this is my process for portrait photography. This is not my wedding. Like unless it's one of my banger photos, then I go this deep into it. So the way that I explain it to my wedding couples is I shoot about 1,200 photos a day. Of that, you're going to get about 400 to 500 back. I say on average, you're getting 40 to 50 photos per hour back. So 10-hour day, you're getting 400 to 500 photos. Of that, let's say 400, I would say about 50 I spend this much time on. The rest of them are crop, straighten, send them away. So, and that might even 50 might be pushing it. Like, I go through and I think about like, okay, if they're going to get a 20-page album or a 10-spread album, how many photos are going to be on that? That's what I'm going to fully edit. The rest they're going to put in a frame and put on their wall. I mean, as long as anything that, and if there's someone in the background, like I shot a wedding in Wisconsin on the beach, and there was like a dude in a bikini walking by, or a mankini walking by like the whole time. So like I had to take him out. I shoot a lot on the lake up there where there's like boats in the background because there's one place that's also a bar, so they have a lot of boats that come in, and then the people come into the bar. I've had to edit all those boats out of like 700 photos before, but I will. It all depends on how good of a mood I'm in, and it all depends on how backed up in weddings I am. Now this week I've gotten through 3 wedding galleries this week, but the last 4 months prior to that I got through like 1, just because I was so busy. So that all factors into. Now I try to give the best quality image to everybody, and if I'm not happy with it, I'm going to go ahead and edit it, no matter how pissed off it makes me. But yeah. I try to focus on that, but yes, crop, straighten, hit the auto, kind of do some tweaks, and export. Yeah, absolutely. I see nothing wrong with it. That's why the auto's there.
Yeah, when I hit the auto, a lot of times I don't like the way the shadows look.
Right.
So I always adjust the shadows after I hit the auto.
Correct. Yeah, and I agree with that. Like especially with my style of shooting, because I shoot underexposed. So Lightroom thinks that I screwed up, and then it just blows everything out. And that's not what I did. I shot my style. So when I hit the auto sometimes, so when I shoot like family photos, candid stuff of like the getting ready, all of that stuff, I'm usually in like shutter priority or aperture priority, one or the other. That way it knows that I'm doing what I'm doing correctly. So where with manual, if I'm shooting like a banger photo, I'm in manual and I'm underexposing because I know that I'm personally going to edit that photo. So